Hey everyone, I'm Alyssa, an Indianapolis Colts cheerleader for the 2024 season, and this is Believe in Colts.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts special edition, breaking news edition, as the Indianapolis Colts have finally came together and made a decision after yesterday's press conference. Shane Steichen said that, everything was going to be evaluated when asking if Flacco would be starting on this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. Comes out today, he is indeed starting, that Anthony Richardson has been benched after the fiasco that happened on Sunday Football in Houston. Real quick, look, I know that you've had a lot to say about Anthony Richardson and that you have wanted Joe Flacco in for some time. But just kind of a real quick, when you saw this news, what was your initial reaction, man?
I mean, I wasn't surprised. I knew that something was going to have to happen. And if it didn't happen, then what does it say to the state of your team? So, listen, I got a lot of heat. I got a lot of support on my stance from our episode the other day on the reaction to the game. But, you know what I'm saying? I'm just calling it like it is. I'm calling it how it should be and what people need to hear. And, like this, I knew this was going to happen. Like I knew this is the trickle down effect from the actions that happened from Sunday. I'm not surprised by it. Not in the slightest. And, quite frankly, man, I would have did it during the game if I was the head coach. He wouldn't have came out after halftime. Well, it happened after halftime, but he wouldn't have played the rest of the game.
In that third quarter, once Flacco came in, he would have been in, right?
Yeah, he would have been in for the rest of the game.
All right. Well, let's get into that a little bit deeper. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that, hey, basketball fans, it's that time of year again. The NBA is back from opening tip-off to buzzer beaters. BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all of your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the game. And it's not just NBA. BetOnline has odds from everything from football, MLB, playoffs, NHL, whatever sport that you're wanting to bet on. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. Now, I believe we discussed a little bit, the Colts are 4-4 now. They're 2 games behind the Texans with them sweeping us. But the playoffs are still kind of in the picture. I mean, we're at 500. There's a possibility here. A lot of people want to say, well, even if you get to the playoffs, you're going to get bounced in the first round. So what's the point? As a player, could you explain to people what's the point?
Listen, the point is this. All right. Like there is no, for every action, there's a reaction. Okay. So yeah, we want to have the best season possible that we can possibly have with the team that we have for the season, right? For the year, whatever. But nobody wants to go through a season with distractions. Nobody wants to go through a season with doubt going into a game. Nobody wants to go through a season of not winning football games. And yes, I know you're at 500, but realistically, as a player in the locker room, who do we feel most confident with starting a football game? Well, I'm going to hedge my bet against the guy who I know is a bona fide winner in his career, as opposed to a guy who's getting all the scrutiny, who's inconsistent, who doesn't have great leadership skills, who we've all questioned from last year to this year's training camp, going all the way up through halfway through the season. Like when I go into a game, I want to have confidence that I'm going to win. I don't want to go into a game thinking like, man, hope this dude don't throw a pick. I hope he doesn't turn the ball over. I hope he doesn't, fumble the snap. I hope he doesn't make the wrong read or whatever it is, right? So it's like from a player standpoint, you can rest assured that we can win football games with the least amount of distractions. Now, look, check it out. It's going to be distractions because we made this change in the middle of the season. There's going to be distractions. You don't think Sunday night is going to be all about talking about this what's – guarantee you the whole Sunday Night Football game, they will talk extensively about Anthony Richardson being benched. They will talk about Joe Flacco, this whole story, this whole fiasco, because that's what the media has to do. It's part of their job, right? I guess we're on that side of it. I'm on that side now with you, but it is a talking point. But guess what it also is? It's also a distraction because now all the other guys on the team throughout the whole week when they're asked to do media have to answer questions about what transpired and how this affects the team and are you guys focused and what does it do? Even if we say it, no, it's causing a distraction, right? Your antics, how you handle yourself causes a distraction. So from a player standpoint, all I can say is I'm glad the change happened. We can move forward in that regard, but we do have a whole amount of, other distractions we have to deal with to put this to bed. Until then, we have to focus and block it out. So it only makes things harder right now to make things easy. It's like it gets worse, but then it gets better, and I think that's what's going to have to happen. It has to start from some leadership from the top down. I'm talking about from the player standpoint at this point because it's past the coaches. It's past the coaches. The players got to take control because those are the guys who are on the field, and they're the ones who are going to say, all right, look, we got to block out the noise. This is who we got. This is who we're rolling with. This is what it's going to be. Now let's just go out and play football. We have to band together even tighter now to make that happen.
Do you think that tap out lost the locker room completely? Like maybe I know you were talking about beforehand, that there was questionable leadership qualities from Anthony Richardson this whole time from training camp on, right? You've been discussing this a lot and you've gotten some heat over it. And I understand why some of the heat was coming from, but at the same time, this is what you're seeing. This is an opinion that you're, coming up from stuff that you see. So at this point, obviously now I've never been a pro, but I can live with a guy going through his struggles and learning.
Mm-hmm.
But if you lose the respect of the teammates around you, that's a much bigger problem and harder to overcome. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, so before I answer that, let me say something too, because you did bring up another point about I caught some scrutiny and all that. All I'm giving you is and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about you, Lawrence. I'm talking about the people, the viewers that are watching, right? Yeah. All I'm giving you is the perspective that I'm able to have seen. I was able to have seen for 8 years in the league. That's all I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So people can have their opinions, but I'm telling you how it really is. This is the stuff that you don't see. This is the perspective that you really don't get, because just like when I ask someone on the street or ask my friends or whatever about their job or what's going on, right, and they tell me what's going on from their job, they're giving me their perspective. All I can do is listen. If I know a little bit on the subject, then I can comment on it. But that's their story and they're telling it to me. So all I'm doing is telling the people how I would feel and how I know these guys feel, because it doesn't change from year to year as far as the struggles, the camaraderie, all the above. So let's answer that question. Did he lose the locker room? I can't speak for everybody on that team, but I do know this. If it was in the middle, it's more on the side of, yeah, you lost it. Then, oh, yeah, no, we're banding with you. Because guess what? You showed how much you were committed to the team. You showed how much you were really committed to yourself over the team, right? And so I have a problem with that. And I'm saying speaking from as if I was on the team right now, player, I would have a problem with that, because guess what? As an offensive lineman, I got to go out there every time and lay it on the line for you. Every play. And every play in football could be the last play that you ever play. And that's realistic. As extreme as it sounds, as crazy as it sounds, as whatever, dramatic, it could be your last play. You could get paralyzed. You can break a leg, snap it in half, tear something, knocked unconscious, whatever it is, right? Like it could be your – so if I'm willing to go out there and do that, for the rest, for trying to set myself up for the future, the rest of my life, trying to make sure I could, give my kids something to leave, a legacy to leave for my kids, for my family, change my family's trajectory in life. Yo, I need you to be in this with me together. We got to be in this together, because guess what? My job to block for you is my sole purpose and to open up running lanes. And if you tap out on me, that means that, damn it, you don't care about me laying it out there for you. Just like you don't care about everybody else laying it out there for you as well, because we're all in this together. So there is no 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's either you're in or you're out, bro. Like, period. Because guess what? I'm in. I don't have a choice. I'm in. I want to be in, right? So I need you to want to be in too. The ego, everything else, it doesn't matter about that. When we strap it up, we got to go. And this is how we become brothers, is going into that fire together and really, you know what I'm saying, going through something so that when we sit back on it 10 years from now, we talk about this game, this play, right? And I know you were right there with me. I know I laid it out there for you. I know we left everything we had on the field. Nobody tapped out. Nobody. I just never seen it before. And then we can argue, okay, well, did he get benched because he tapped out, or was it because of his play?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this. It was both. But what I will say is this. The tap out was the icing on the cake. Because guess what? He knew, like the head coach knew that right there, if I don't do something right now, then I'm going to lose my team. If I don't do something now, I lose the whole team. If anybody had any reservations about me already, now I really lost the team. I got to put my foot down.
Are people's jobs on the line? You're hearing this all over the place. Now, in the NFL, everybody's job's on the line every year, in my opinion. But
that's a fact. That ain't opinion. That's a fact.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of people are saying benching AR is giving up on Anthony Richardson and saying that it was a failed pick and that, you know, everybody will be fired at the end of the year. I personally don't see this as Shane and Ballard saying that Anthony Richardson was a failed pick. I think this is a situation where I feel like they realize he has some growing up to do and he needs to sit back and watch somebody else in order to do it. You know, somebody else in that position right in front of him that he can't do while he's on the field.
Listen, we're all human and everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. No one has a crystal ball and can foresee the future on who's the next Hall of Fame draft pick. Like, it's all assumption. It's all off of what we think this player is going to be able to do for us from his body of work in college or from his tenure is so far in the league. Now let's try to get this player here so he can do that and help our franchise, right? Well, guess what? You made a mistake. As much as you want to be diplomatic about your answer, you can't just go out there and say, you know what, I screwed up. Like, because guess what? That's just not something, like, you're not going to fall on the sword. There's a lot of pride in this thing, right? But for you to go, oh yeah, like, you know, like now we want him to sit behind somebody. Like, yo, you're basically saying like, yo, I fucked up. Guess what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just said that because here's the thing. Now you want him to sit behind somebody? Now you want him to sit. Why do you want him to sit behind somebody like how Love did in Green Bay? How Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre? How Tom Brady sat, you know what I'm saying, waited for his time, right? Like, the list goes on the greats that sat for their first couple years in the league, and then when they got their chance, they balled out because they were mentored, they were coached. Well, why wasn't that approach for somebody like Anthony Richardson, who had the least amount of body of work out of any of these quarterbacks that I just named? And now all of a sudden, now it's time for him to learn. Well, guess what? You messed up because you gave him a ton of money and you said, here you go. Here's our franchise. Take us to the promised land with no body of work. So now when we get upset about him trying to throw, you know, in a 2-minute situation, Hail Mary situation, he's never done that before. So it's not his fault in that regard. But it's your fault when you bring him in and say, here you go, keys to the Ferrari, right, with no one to lead him. And so now when everything's hit the fan, now it's his fault. Well, guess what? It's really your fault. But when you put him on this pedestal and you let him take the reins and you don't treat him like a rookie and make him pay his dues, right, and check him when he's doing shit that he shouldn't be doing, right, and letting him act like he's a 10-year vet, this 8-time Pro Bowler, this is what you'll get. This is exactly what's going to happen. So whether this is a short-term benching, whether it's a long-term benching, right? Guess what? Upper management, you fucked up. You messed up. I don't know where you go from here, but I do know this. If Joe Flacco, this is his last, if this is his last year, right, then you better find another suitor to play quarterback, because guess what? If you bench him for the rest of the year, how do you expect him to get better for next season, right? Just by mentoring, I get that from looking, but he's getting 0 reps. So now we're back to holding our breath and going like this again with another backup quarterback or old quarterback. Like, you got to bring someone in that's hitting free agency and sign the guy. It needs to be like a Falcon situation, right? It needs to be something like that with Kirk Cousins and the young fella, that you got promise and potential. We still got Kirk that still got about 4 years left on his career. That's what it should have been. So now you got to play catch up. It just is what it's going to be, an unorthodox situation. And that's something they got to figure out. If it's jobs on the line, absolutely. You missed on like 4 quarterbacks. You signed so many old quarterbacks. You missed on them. Phillip Rivers to Matt Ryan to Carson Wentz, all these dudes. They were Band-Aids. No one ever really truly addressed it after Luck. It never was truly addressed. We never got super aggressive and went and signed somebody that was in the middle of their career. Never did it. Just put Band-Aids on it like it was going to go away. And now look, this is the effects of it all.
I will say at least they broke that and at least tried to get a young guy in the draft, right? Someone with a lot of potential. Granted, you are where you're at now, you know.
When they signed him, when they signed, I can't really remember. I know it was 2 years ago. When they signed him and when they drafted him, who was still available, quarterback-wise, in that draft? I know Levis was after. I know Levis went in the second round.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I
wouldn't have picked Levis over him, though.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, but what I'm saying is, like, I know what you had, Stroud and Bryson Young. Were they both gone before him?
Stroud and Young were the 2 guys that went before him.
And I don't think there was really anybody else, right? I can't. The draft's kind of running into each other, but
Hooker.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Either way, you draft him the 4th overall. Shouldn't have been. He's probably. I don't know if 31 other teams were ready. We're going to draft him at number 4, right? I mean, like, the teams are available. So you took a chance. You took a gamble. In my opinion, you should have had Baker Mayfield in Indy. You should have had a Derek Carr in Indy. You guys can crucify me all you want. Crucify me all you want.
Someone who's not 40 and still have like 10 years left in their career.
Yes.
That shows that they can lead a team.
Yes. And then you sign him, and then I don't care if you still take Anthony Richardson 4th overall. Let him sit for 2 years, 3 years, and then you bring him in. Let him develop. Let him learn. Let him get some game reps from time to time if you guys are up or getting blown out. Just like they do in all these other programs. Man, listen. And now look. Now you got a guy who thinks that he's a 10-year guy and he can do whatever he wants. He's pulling. Even the greats never pull what he did. This is that soft football that we're bringing these kids up in too. This has to do with it too, youth coaches. Yeah, I'm gonna call everybody out.
I posted something on Twitter, I don't know, about an hour ago, and this is how I feel about it. There's 2 ways that this can go for Anthony Richardson, and it all depends upon him. Either A, he can accept the fact that he's got some growing up to do on multiple different levels in multiple different areas, sit back and learn and get better in all these areas that he needs to get better, and then possibly he could still be a franchise quarterback, maybe even still with the Indianapolis Colts in the future, or he can let this hit him in his feels, and then that's just going to, in my opinion, prove that he'd never been a leader in the first place ever and wouldn't have been a leader on any team, no matter what. So that's my thoughts on that.
I mean, I completely agree with you on that. Like you're spot on with that. There's this either one. Either you swallow your pride and accept what has been done, that you take ownership with that, look yourself in the mirror, go back home, be with yourself for a minute, be real with yourself, just you alone. You don't need to talk to nobody. Be a man about it. Swallow your pride, come back, right? And learn from this as a learning tool. Block out all the noise, block this out, block everybody out, block ESPN, block every media outlet out, right? Answer the questions when they're asked, put your head down, work and practice, watch a ton of film, work in the weight room, rehab your body, and just be ready to go when your number is called, but be humble. Or you can be a baby about it, like you said, and get all your feelings and not want to, be over there hearing the coaching points when Flacco comes off the field, not really be supportive, be a cancer amongst the locker room and the team. Well, guess what? People got a short leash with you anyway, teammate-wise. So you can be a cancer amongst the people, but guess what? That's only going to make guys not want to even deal with you even more, right? And that hurts the team because now you got this guy who's getting paid a ton of money as a guy that hasn't proven himself, and you got older vets in the league that are making nowhere near what he's making and are grinding and are on constant notice every single day, wondering if they're on the bottom of the roster, if they're going to get cut or not, really busting their ass to stay on a roster or, play and make plays. Well, guess what? Now I got a problem with you moping around because I would love to make your salary mope around, but actually I can't do that, right? So if you're going to mope around, young fella, and you haven't played as many plays, many snaps, or you even been in years as I've been in the league, I need you to go over there and shut the fuck up and be cool. Because now you're getting on my nerves. Now you causing this more of a distraction in the locker room.
Speed brings up a good point. AR needs to earn his job back. Earn it against Flacco the same as if, he was trying to beat out Gardner last year. You got to earn something like that.
Well, how does he earn it back? I mean,
you got to.
This ain't training camp no more.
Nope.
Like I hear what you're saying. The only way for you to earn it back is, like I said, you got to shut up, watch film, and practice. You can't miss a throw in practice. You have to be able to know the defense like the back of your hand, week in and week out. You need to understand exactly what's going to happen before it happens while you're watching film. You need to know, so you need to be studying these teams so much that when you watch film, it's like watching a story, and you know how it's going to unfold. Because you know the down and distance, you know the situation, you know every possible defense that they could be in. And then you need to know what they're about to do, and then you need to know how to beat it. And then you have to visualize your own plays and our routes and our concept of how we run the football against that defense and visually see it while you're watching film from another team. That's how you watch film. That's how you really break it down. That's when he will really be a student of the game. When he can tell you what the guard has, the center has, the tackle has, the tight end has, the running back, and all the receivers all at the same time, and get them everybody lined up and know exactly what their assignments are, back to like top to bottom, right? And then you see the defense, and then that's how you win it back, by knowing and just being ready.
Derby, got a question out there. Why didn't AR run out of bounds? They had clock at the end of the game. I was confused by that. He was a little bit away from the out of bounds line, but I think he probably would have saved 10 seconds had he done that. And I think that just goes to the inexperienced part, right? That's just the inexperienced part of him not knowing, hey, I should kind of aim towards the sidelines here, give myself and the offense 10 more seconds. That comes with experience, and I mean he'll know that from this point on, right? Obviously, the only way, as you said, he can learn is by playing when it comes to on the field stuff. But I think leadership wise, this is where he's going to learn a lot, sitting back if he allows himself to do so, right? We're going to be taking some questions and checking out comments here in the chat right now. Before we do, please smash that like button if you're watching this on YouTube, which you are, because I'm only live right now we're only live right now on YouTube. We're not on an audio podcast, but if you do listen to this on an audio, make sure that you leave a rating and a comment and stuff of that nature, and share this with your favorite social media friends, family. Help get the word out about our show. We'd appreciate it a ton. There was another question up here. I wanted to bring it up. Val, he says he thinks this is a coaching problem as well when it comes to AR. Do you think that AR should be shouldering all the blame on his lack of success, shall we call it, over this year, or should players or coaches or other people be shouldering some of that as well?
I mean, like, is it a coaching problem as far as like him, like them developing him? Is that the question? Or is it a coaching problem as far as like coaching him and mentoring him on how to be a pro? Like, because I think that's two different things, right? So, you know, I mean, I can answer the question either way, right? But I think that, is it a coaching problem as far as developing him? Let's just go there fundamentally and all that. It can be. It can be a problem because, quite frankly, if he's not receiving it, if he's not receiving the information that's being given to him, then, you know, of course, like, all right, we got to figure out a way to coach him. And here's the thing, like, just because I'm a coach in the NFL does not mean that I can coach every player that's a quarterback or whatever position I'm coaching. Like, you have to know how to get through the guys too, and how to really talk to them and know how to what works and what doesn't work. So, is it a coaching problem? I think it has a bit to do with it, right? As far as him, you know, throwing the picks and the reads and all that. I also think it's just a learning curve. And I'm not saying that he's slow or anything like that. I'm just saying that where he's at in his career, right? Like, he's making mistakes that he should have been making freshman year of college, sophomore year of college, or even high school, where he's reading defenses differently, things of that nature. But I mean, you can answer that question two ways.
Yep. I feel everything you just said, and I was basically agreeing with everything you were saying in my head. So appreciate Spooksville Joe dropping $10 in the super chat. I appreciate that. He had a question. Says, why are there so many drop balls? This is another question to be addressed. And honestly, I don't see as many drop balls with Joe Flacco as I do Anthony Richardson. And I think it has a lot to do with ball placement. I think it has a lot to do with the timing of the routes when he's delivering the football, right? And then, of course, you know, at times Richardson likes to throw a cannon when he don't need to. Didn't see that as much last week, but still that is a thing. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I really can't answer that. You know, sometimes he does need to take a little mustard off the ball, like we like to say, like, you take a little mustard off that thing. But as far as drop balls go, I mean, you do have some young guys in the receiving core. You got some guys that just, you know, everybody needs to step their game up just a little bit all the time, right? And so it's not easy to be great all the time, but I do understand this is NFL, and you expect guys to make plays when it's time to make a play. So I can't answer the question why there's so many drop balls. I can say that, you know, sometimes you got to take a little bit off the ball, and some quarterbacks have better touch with it. They know when to gun it in there. They know when they just can lay it in there softly. And like you said, you do see a little bit less drop balls with Flacco, but he knows how to lay the ball in there. He knows he's got touch. You know what I'm saying? Now, he can't throw the ball as far as Anthony can, but you know what I'm saying, or nearly as hard as Anthony can. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, hey, he can get it there when he needs to.
Yeah, he can still drop a 50, 60-yard pass when he absolutely needs to, and it ain't going to rainbow the way Minshew did last year. You know, still got plenty of arm in that 39-year-old cannon of his. TJ, appreciate the $5 super chat. It says people jobs are on the line, and I'm glad somebody didn't accept 8 completions and a 40% completion rate. I think it goes beyond the completion rates, in my opinion, TJ Joe. But I do agree that everybody's jobs are on the line at this point, especially when you make a starting quarterback change, especially with a young guy who's basically still in a rookie season. You know, I think that's big telling. I mean, you look what happened with the Panthers, you know, so That's my thoughts. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not fun when people's jobs are on the line in the building. It makes for a very, very uncomfortable environment. A lot of whispers, a lot of like my coach used to say, a lot of clenched buttholes walking around here right now. Just because no one's comfortable. And especially when from a standpoint of the GM could be job could be on the line, head coach's job could be on the line. All the position coaches' jobs could be on the line potentially if the head coach gets fired. Here's the problem. The Colts really can't afford to fire the Steichen right now, right away. They just can't do it. They can't. He's been given a shitty end of the stick, so to speak, just because he's the head coach. I get it. He's got to make decisions and on guys playing wise and all that, but I don't know how much say so he has on who's getting drafted. You see what I'm saying? He could be making the phone call, or the GM's making the phone call on, hey, we're going to draft you, blah blah blah. Here's coach, whatever. But this is the hand that you're dealt. But for the sake of the Colts, you don't want to fire the head coach. You don't want to fire the head coach. You got to keep some continuity going.
Where's Ballard's job sitting at right now?
He's been here for a while, and he's for whatever reason, pick after pick after pick after pick, quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. He's still there. I mean, the easy answer would be, hey, he's on the chopping block as well. He'd probably be the first to go, but man, he's been given a long leash for he's been there 8 years now, something like that. So it's you've been here for a while, and I mean, after last year, you would think, I guess you get another year to see, how it unfolds, and this year ain't going too well as far as seeing how that story is unfolding with AR. So I don't know, man. I think that there's somebody has to go. At some point you have to cover your tracks and cover your ass, so to speak. Somebody's got to fall on the sword.
Do we make a quarterback coaching change?
I think that would probably be one of the easiest solutions to getting rid of somebody, right? Would be, hey, let's just get rid of the position coach, see how that works, and find someone that can really tap into if you still are on the train of trying to develop Anthony, right? If you're not, then that's a whole nother road we could go down. But what I'm saying is he could be easiest casualty award. He's the easiest scapegoat is going to be the position coach, right? Because it's going to be I would say it has to be position coach and GM are the ones that are going to be 1 and 2 as far as
Oh, sounds like we might have lost Donald for a moment. There, he's back. Continue on.
How long did you lose me for? What did you?
Oh, it wasn't long. He was just talking about it's the easiest position to get.
I think that position coach and GM are going to be the first 2 to go, in my opinion.
Okay, intercessor. All right, I get it, bud. I'm not mad at you for bringing up a question. All right, we're having an opinion. I will say this. There is not a coach or player in the entire league that's going to tank. Because their jobs are on the line. Their future paychecks are on the line. That happens at the very top of the echelon, in my opinion, where owners and GMs are trying to, hey, I need a fresh start somewhere, But in all honesty, I think they believe Flacco is the better chance to win right now. I feel like if they were wanting to tank, they would keep Anthony Richardson in right now. That's just my opinion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's trying to tank. I mean, it ain't that bad. What are you tanking for? What are you tanking for? A better spot in the draft? Nah, you ain't tanking. You would with the whole luck situation, that was a different scenario. This ain't that. You got your quarterback. I mean, you tanking for what? You know what I mean? No one's tanking. I think, there's still hope for this season.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a chance that you make the playoffs. Like, this is not something where it's just like everything is just over with and you're just like, yo, just throw everything in the fire. Let's just restart. Like, nah, like this ain't that. But we're just addressing, like I said, the elephant that's been in the room in the corner over there now has come to a head, and that pimple's popping. And like this is what's going on right now. This is the lay of the land. So nah, but there's no. I don't buy that for a second. It's a great question, right? And no one's killing you for it, but I just don't think that they're tanking.
Absolutely. So where do, as fans, those 50 people that are in the live chat right now, and if you haven't hit the like button yet, then what are you waiting on? Those fans that are Colts fans, where do they go from here? Are they still do they still need to be optimistic? Is there reason to be optimistic about the rest of the season, even though we just watched, what we just watched this past Sunday and the events that have transpired over the last 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, as a fan, a diehard true fan, you never lose hope in your team, right? You're like, yeah, you can be optimistic, but I just want, fans to be realistic, right? Like, don't look at it from a standpoint, or don't look at the situation from a standpoint of what you fantasize about, right? Like, you got to be real with yourself and understand, like, what's the true outcome? What's the true possibility of the rest of this year? Like, what needs to happen for us to really start to be consistently good, like how the Colts used to be when Peyton and all those guys were here. And I think that, from a standpoint of really looking at this thing and understanding, like, all right, is Anthony the quarterback of the future? You got to ask yourself that. If he isn't, what's the best case scenario that can happen out of this situation right now? And I think personally that if the Colts can just swallow their pride here and say, we made a mistake on the quarterback situation. We put Anthony into this thing way too soon, right? We should have mentored him. We should have developed him before we put that product out on the field. And now revert back to maybe trying to fix it for the next 2 years with trying to sign a veteran quarterback after this season that still really has a lot of tread left on his tires that Anthony can learn from. It's not a bad thing. And you can kind of salvage that by getting him with getting that veteran quarterback for a lesser price tag, right? A guy that still needs to prove himself to get paid again. And then you figure out, is Anthony ready by then? But like I say, there's nothing wrong with him playing tight end. I'm just going to throw that out there too, right?
Yep. Shout out to Speed. 59 years sitting there being a Colts fan. You've been through some ups and some downs. I've been a Colts fan since they've been in Indy back in 84. But Chuck's got a point for Chris Ballard. No division titles, 1 playoff game in 7 years. It better get better fast for him. And I can't disagree with that. Numbers don't lie. All right. I can say all these great people that Ballard has drafted. And I will admit, he may or may not have missed. It's still out on the table on AR, but he's gotten a lot of really good. He's gotten some All Pros. He's gotten some Pro Bowlers. I feel like this team is very good as a team. I just have a problem with we have yet to get this quarterback situation figured out since Andrew Luck retired the second preseason game. That's the big problem.
I've been saying it. We have not figured it out since then. And one thing, the hard part about it is like, even before I started doing this podcast, and I'll be talking with people I knew. I'm like, why are the coaches putting a Band-Aid on the situation? It's like you got this gaping, wound, and you're just trying to butterfly it with a little butterfly stitch. Like, oh no, this will slow the bleeding down. You're good. Like, just get back out there and play. Like, slap that up there. Throw some spit on it. It's like, no. Like, yo, schedule the surgery. Let's fix this before we go further. And I know it's hard to find a good quarterback, a quality quarterback, a guy who you can say this is our guy for the next 5, 6, 7 years. We're going to, win all this with him. Like it's not easy. Listen, all this is easier said than done. Like when you're a GM, when you're a head coach, when you're a VP, when you're the owner, like you're literally trying to put pieces together to form like the ultimate chess team with these chess moves. But these are real live, like breathing people, right? And you don't really know if what you're going to get year in and year out, like the product. So it's difficult to say, right? Like I can't tell you, I can't stress to you how hard it is to put this together, right? But I do know that, what I'm saying, like there has to be a change there has to be something done because there's going to be another quarterback change again next year, right? You're going to sign another quarterback next year.
Yeah, because I don't think Flacco's going to make it past this year.
Yeah, so
unless he like somehow miraculously wins the Super Bowl,
you know what I'm saying?
Of something like that, I think he's probably.
And hold on, so I'm looking at this chat right now.
Which one you want to go to?
Well, someone like Sebastian said moving AR to Titan is clearly not the answer, and I saw someone else say that like, who else was it? Basil 40241. You want to sign Wentz 2.0 to mentor Richardson. So let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that. So I'm not saying Carson Wentz 2.0. What I'm saying is you want to sign a guy who has been battle tested, who has won games, who is a true leader, who can really help this guy along in his career, right? Like Gardner Minshew is not nothing against Gardner, but he doesn't have the resume that other quarterbacks have that have won that, what I'm saying? Like, so he's Carson Wentz. We know that. Like, come on, man. Like, you're not getting Carson Wentz to mentor Anthony Richardson. Or Flacco's resume gives you that option, right? But what I'm saying is you want a guy that can come in that's like early 30s, late 20s, that's they can win football games like when Baker was available, like when Derek Carr was available. Call me crazy. I know they're not Super Bowl champions. I get it. But guess what they are? They're quarterbacks that got over $100 million contracts because teams saw the potential and know that they can still play football. Kirk Cousins got signed to a big deal because they know that he can still play football coming off an injury. Why didn't the Colts address that like that? You can't put all your
the amount of money it would have took to get Kirk Cousins. You've seen how much money it took to get Kirk Cousins. That was ridiculous.
No, but it was crazy. But what I'm saying is sometimes you got to get aggressive to do some things. And sometimes teams are more aggressive than others, and it pays out for them. But what I'm saying is we haven't really got super aggressive. We just been signing super old quarterback after old quarterback after old quarterback, not addressing a long-term problem. And then you're Ballard sheepdog. Well, hey, then guess what? This might be it for him because you got to get someone that's going to be aggressive. That's going to be like, yo, we're fixing this now. We can't go forward until we fix this now.
All right, I think that's going to probably do it. We got about 45 minutes into this live stream. That's a little longer than I expected. Appreciate everybody that showed up. If you're sitting here still watching this and made it all the way through 45 minutes, man, thank you so much for coming in, hanging out, talking with us, asking questions, things of that nature. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell so that you're notified next time we go live or upload a video. And if you're listening to this on an audio podcast after the fact, appreciate that too. Don't forget to leave a rating and a comment as well. But any final words there, Donald?
No, I mean, this is a learning moment for Anthony Richardson. I think this will help him in his career. I think this will help him if he allows it to help him, and I hope it does help him. but you learn from your mistakes and just know it can't happen again, and understand that the game is bigger than what you think it is. And when you realize how big the game is, that's when you'll become a good player in the league. And so, like I've said my piece about it. I'm ready to put it to rest. I'm ready to move on with the season, and hopefully we can just pick up the pieces and be competitive for the rest of the year. But things of this nature are going to happen all the time. Maybe not the same exact instance, but it's it's a learning tool for him, and hopefully we get things addressed, and hopefully the locker room can band together as brothers and go out there and block out the noise and play well for the rest of the year.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. That was Donald Thomas. This was, as I said, Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts, baby.
Do you believe?